Steve Jobs didn't just build Apple. He built one of the most valuable brands on the planet by thinking differently, not only about products, but about money. While others chased cash, Jobs chased clarity, meaning impact. And ironically, that's exactly why the money came. In this video, I'm going to show you the financial truths that Steve Jobs lived by, that most people completely overlook. If you want to build wealth through focus, value, and simplicity, this might be the perspective you didn't know you needed. And rise to riches. Here's the problem. Most people think that to get rich, you need to hustle harder, sell more, say yes to everything. But Steve Jobs didn't follow that path. He didn't start with money. He started with meaning. He focused on what mattered. He removed distractions, and he built things people didn't just want, they needed. While others were trying to add more features, he was removing complexity. While others were chasing trends, he was building legacy. And that's what this video is about. Thinking about money the way Jobs did, not as a prize, but as a byproduct of doing the right work the right way. Steve Jobs didn't start with a spreadsheet. He started with a vision. He believed that when you create something truly valuable, the money will follow. That's why he obsessed over design, user experience, and emotional connection, not just profit margins. And that's the first mindset shift. Stop asking, how can I make money? Start asking, how can I create real value? Because when you do something that solves a problem, inspires action, or makes someone's life better, you build trust. And trust turns into loyalty. Loyalty turns into revenue. Revenue turns into wealth. Meaning drives money, not the other way around. Jobs was obsessed with design, but not just for looks. For him, design was how it works. He understood that when something is intuitive, elegant, effortless, it creates an experience people want to pay for and talk about. That's not decoration, that's leverage. Whether you're creating a business, a product, or a personal brand, the way something feels can become your biggest asset. It increases your perceived value. It builds emotional connection. It separates you from the noise. So don't just focus on what you're offering. Focus on how it's experienced. Because in the end, people don't pay for complexity. They pay for clarity. Jobs had a rule. Remove the unnecessary. He believed that simplicity wasn't just elegance. It was power. Every extra step, every confusing menu, every bloated feature. It wasn't just bad design. It was lost money. And here's why. When something is simple, people use it more, share it more, and trust it faster. Simplicity lowers resistance. It speeds up decision-making. It multiplies adoption. So whether you're building a business, selling a service, or creating content, make it simpler. Because every layer of confusion costs you attention. And attention is the new currency. Steve Jobs once said, "Focus is about saying no." And he meant it. He didn't build everything. He built the right things, deeply, intentionally, and without distraction. That's how Apple created products that redefined entire industries. Because scattered energy creates average results. But focused energy creates impact. So ask yourself, what's stealing your focus? What's pulling your attention away from what really matters? Jobs wasn't trying to do 50 things. He was trying to do one thing, better than anyone else. And when you adopt that level of focus, everything you touch gets sharper, stronger, and more profitable. Steve Jobs didn't just build products, he built a brand. Apple wasn't just about technology. It was about identity, status, lifestyle. People didn't just buy iPhones, they bought belonging. That's what Jobs understood early on. Products come and go, but brands last, and brands compound. A strong brand lets you charge more, stand out without screaming, and build trust without explanation. So if you're creating something, think beyond the thing itself. Ask, what does this represent? How does it make people feel? What story does it tell? Because when you build a brand, you stop competing on price and start commanding value. Jobs wasn't obsessed with doing more. He was obsessed with doing what mattered. He cut product lines, simplified offers, and focused the company on just a few things. Done extremely well, that's how Apple stayed lean, fast, and iconic. In a world that pushes constant productivity, Jobs chose precision. So here's the lesson. You don't need a dozen projects. You need one that solves the right problem for the right people in the right way. Cut the clutter. Because focus plus clarity equals momentum. And momentum is what moves the money. Jobs didn't build for applause. He built for the person holding the product in their hands. Every decision, from packaging to performance, was about creating a feeling, not just a feature. Because when you build for yourself, it's easy to get lost in ego. But when you build for the user, you create something that people truly connect with. And that connection, it's what drives loyalty, referrals, and long-term revenue. So whatever you're creating, a service, a course, a product, a brand, step into their shoes. Ask, what do they need? What frustrates them? What would make them feel seen? The more you focus on the user, the more the market will focus on you. Jobs didn't play it safe. He disrupted the music industry, the phone industry, the way we use computers, and even how we buy things online. He didn't wait for permission. He moved fast, broke things, and rebuilt better. That's the mindset most people avoid, because disruption is uncomfortable. But here's the truth. Comfort protects average. Discomfort builds empires. So if you're stuck in safe mode, that's your signal to shake things up. Because the biggest opportunities aren't in what already exists. They're in what doesn't exist yet, but could if you had the courage to build it. Steve Jobs believed in owning the entire experience, from the packaging to the store layout, to the software and hardware working together. Why? Because control creates consistency, and consistency builds trust. When customers know exactly what to expect, and you deliver it better than anyone, you can charge more. Apple products aren't cheap, but they feel premium. And that feeling, it's worth paying for. So think about your own work. How much of the customer journey are you controlling? Are you leaving the first impression to chance? Are you shaping how people feel before, during, and after the sale? The more you control the experience, the more you earn the right to charge what you're worth. Jobs wasn't chasing quick cash. He was building something that would outlive him. He asked different questions. Will this still matter in 10 years? Will people remember how it made them feel? Is this aligned with the impact I want to leave? And here's the twist. When you aim to create legacy, not just profit, you attract deeper loyalty, stronger culture, and yes, even more wealth. Because money is a result, but legacy is the multiplier. And when you focus on doing work that matters, the market pays attention and pays you back. Steve Jobs didn't follow the money. He followed a vision. And by doing that, by focusing on what truly mattered, he created something timeless. Wealth wasn't his goal. Impact was. But because of that impact, the wealth came anyway. So maybe the path isn't chasing more, maybe it's building deeper, simpler, stronger, more intentional. That's how you change your financial future. By changing how you think. If this changed how you see money and meaning, like the video, subscribe to Rise to Riches and comment below. Which principle from Steve Jobs are you going to apply in your own journey? Remember, you don't have to be a genius. You don't have to be famous. You just have to think clearly, act boldly, and build what matters. Wealth isn't just about income, it's about intention. Start small, start today, and rise to riches.